Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Waypoint. I'm with my co-pilot, Skyler Martin at Maxem Wealth. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm excited to jump into our conversation today. I think it'll be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. So, today I recently worked with a client dealing with this, so it was really top of mind, and I wanted to touch on it. So, recently brought on a new client. When we sat down and started building his plan, one of the first things we looked at was his 2025 tax return. Right? It's one of the big things you look at when you bring a new client on board. And he does own and operate a flight instruction and tour business.
Oh,
And
cool.
so, I thought it was really cool. Who doesn't want to own a helicopter?
All right.
So his accountant had taken the full 100% bonus depreciation on one of his helicopters that he placed into service last year. That took his taxable income down to like around $92,000. And for someone with his income level, that was a pipe dream. Like
Yep.
it was crazy to see that. He got a pretty massive tax return from it. So the result, he had roughly about 11,000 that actually was shaved off in the 22% tax bracket. If you know how these tiers work, like started in the 32% and got all the way down to 92. So 11,000 of that is at 22%. Like he could have done 11% or 11,000 more in 22%. Another 94,000 was in the 24% tax bracket. And then the rest was 32 and 35%. So without this depreciation, he would have been deep in the 35% tax bracket. So it knocked him down 3 tiers. The crazy part is the accountant just kind of told him that's what we're doing. He didn't ask whether they should. And nobody knew he was already planning to sell that helicopter. So before we get into the mechanics, does this dynamic surprise you at all?
No. Yeah, no, where we get these big tax decisions without looking at the full picture. No, that's not surprising. I see it quite often. I'm sure, this is the accountant didn't mean to do anything wrong or anything. I mean, it's just saved him tax dollars or so it looked like, right?
Yeah.
But what happens is we have one person who's just looking at one aspect of the financial life when those decisions actually impact a lot of other things, whether it's next year or in years to come. And my point with that is we got to have conversations that cover everything because the decisions we make on the investment side impact the tax side and vice versa and everything in between, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, why does this happen though? Like we made this tax move. Why does that happen before we even have a planning conversation about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like these individuals are looking for guidance from their accountant who's really just working with them one time a year to get a job done. And that is file their taxes and, for some, pay the least amount in taxes. But they're working in isolation. They see the income, they see the assets, they see the deductions, they do their job. And the clients trust them. Maybe they trust some accountants more than they should. And a lot of accountants just say, hey, we're going to do this. And the client nods. So there's really a moment where the accountant asks, what are your plans for this asset? What does your income look like next year? Who else is advising you? I will say there are accountants out there that do that, and that's awesome. And honestly, it's not a knock at accountants that don't do it. It's more of a structural problem. They're not always in the room where the full financial picture lives. So the bonus depreciation decision was not wrong on its face. It was just wrong given the information the accountant did not have. And yeah, like how often do you come into a new client relationship and find decisions were made in a vacuum?
Yeah, all the time. And I love how you started this by saying, I looked at their 2025 tax return because that's what you do when you bring on a new client. And for both of us, it's like, yeah, of course. But that is also not the norm, I think, in our world. But it is for us. And so, yeah, when you look at those tax returns, you'll find stuff that's like, why did we do that there? Or what happened here? Looks like maybe we missed an opportunity or whatever. And so, yes, that is very common. And those kinds of conversations or questions, I should say, lead to really good conversations with the clients. Okay, so we took the full bonus depreciation on that helicopter. Maybe walk us through what the situation looks like now, because it sounds like you just brought this client on. What's going on now?
Yeah, so the client owns multiple aircraft. His other aircraft are on normal depreciation schedules, no acceleration, so no problem there, partly because when they were placed into service. But on this one helicopter, the full 100% bonus depreciation was taken in 2025. So again, it dropped his taxable income down, 92,000. The return was filed, that was done. But he actually already has the helicopter listed for sale. So if things go well, that sell is happening this year. And because of the bonus depreciation, that helicopter now has a $0 cost basis. So every dollar from the sell is a taxable gain. There's really nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
So when you hear this, like, what is the first thing that goes through your mind?
I'm just thinking they're probably going to end up paying more in taxes than they saved this year, or in 2025, I should say.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, let's break down the math. So
Yeah.
without the bonus depreciation, he would have been in the 35% tax bracket last year. And that's even arguable because even with the depreciation he was taking, in straight line for his other aircraft, he probably would have gotten down to the 24%, honestly. But if we isolate the depreciation that he did take, that saved him taxes in the 22 and the 24% tax brackets. like what I was breaking that down in the beginning, 11,000. He didn't pay 11,000 at 22%. He didn't pay 94,000 at 24%. And then of course he didn't pay everything that he would have paid in the 32 and 35% tax brackets as well. But now fast forward this year, even with the standard deduction or the straight line deductions that he's taking from his other assets, normal business expenses, I mean, he's going to have a hard time being under the 32% tax bracket before the sell. You add the helicopter sell on top of that, and he's sitting well into the 35% tax bracket. So the problem, right, is he deferred taxes out of the 22% and 24% buckets, and then now has to recapture them in the 32 and 35% tax buckets. That's not a win.
No, that hurts.
Yeah. Now, some people hearing this will think, wait, depreciation recapture is capped at 25%, so he's all good. But what are those people missing?
It's not real estate, and that's a big point. Right. So maybe walk us through that depreciation recapture cap, because I think that is a common misconception.
Yeah, it comes up a lot. And again, it's out there on the internet. And unless you dive into it deeply and truly understand it, it's really easy to misunderstand it. So if you have a real estate background, you probably are familiar with the 25% cap on recapture. So that only applies on depreciation that was taken straight line on real estate. So there's a specific section that falls under the IRS. It's section 1250. Aircraft are not section 1250. They are section 1245 property. That cap does not apply, period. And even in real estate, the moment you accelerate depreciation beyond straight line, you lose that cap as well. So something to keep in mind there, even for real estate. Bonus depreciation is accelerated by definition. So if anyone out there is thinking the same strategy on real estate and assuming the 25% cap protects them, it does not. The moment bonus depreciation enters the picture. Yeah. Is this something clients generally understand going in, that you've worked on, or does it get, do you see it catch people off guard?
Yeah, I mean, just in general, at least in my experience, clients, especially with more complex situations, whether they're business owners, service-based businesses, or real estate, or in this instance, they've got some complexity going on, and typically they don't understand the ins and outs of what's going on with their taxes at all. Taxes are complex. That's why you pay people to do them. And so, no, I don't think that most clients are going to understand this going in. And I think that's honestly the case with a lot of things surrounding taxes, which is why it's so important to have a team and not just maybe one person who's focused on one area of your financial life, because this stuff does get difficult, complex, and there's a lot of moving parts that are affecting one another, right? So that's kind of my thought on it, and just in general.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
I was gonna say, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act doesn't help things, right? And this happens. There's a huge revamp in our tax code, at certain points that, big revamps, and we have to relearn the whole thing. So right now, this is not a hypothetical risk. It is happening right now. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act did restore 100% bonus depreciation for qualifying property. So, accountants everywhere are taking full bonus on 2025 returns being filed. And most of the clients have not had a conversation with anyone about their exit timeline on those assets. So while, the accountants can save them a lot of money up front, bonus depreciation is not a loophole. It is a timing decision, and timing decisions without a plan, is just a deferred problem.
Yeah, so, it really is. Before we kind of prepped for this, I forgot about this conversation, but I actually had a client who just sold a business, and for this exact reason ended up netting far less than he had expected. And they'd actually done some pretty big life upgrades based on the potential of this sale.
Oh man.
And I'm not going to get into it because it was tough. And so these things, like, it's just stuff that people are not having conversations about, and it makes it difficult. So with this though, thankfully, you are working with this person. What are you doing now? Like, what does the path forward look like?
Yeah. So luckily, this just happened last year. So we weren't at the table when the decision was made. We came in after the return was filed. So now we're building the strategy around really the reality we inherited. So return was filed in April. You didn't file an extension. That was for tax year 2025. We're recording this on April 20th, 2026 for context. So that means there's a window roughly until October 2026 to file an amended return and revoke the bonus depreciation. Whether the amendment makes sense depends on the sale timeline, the total tax impact, and also the rest of the, his income picture for the rest of the year. So we're keeping an eye on it. We're getting him introduced to an accountant that we work with a lot to analyze it and see what the potential savings could be on amending with the sale. And that right there is, if it makes sense, we'll pull the trigger on it. If not, we'll let bygones be bygones. Yeah. But the bigger point is, if we'd been in the room before that return was filed, this conversation looks completely different. Maybe the bonus still gets taken, but maybe it doesn't. It just gets decided with full information, and that's what's important. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, walk me through, because I feel like this is a huge miss on even advisors' side, where they don't bring professionals in to help them through these processes. So I'm sure I'd love for you to walk us through an example of where you had coordinated between client, yourself, and the accountant to come out ahead, by
Yeah.
with that synergy.
Yeah, I mean, I try to coordinate with the CPAs for most of my clients, and one that was recent, I brought them on in September of last year, and he does mortgages, makes was making around 250,000 in mortgages and doing mortgages. He also did some real estate, but anyway, so he was doing pretty well, and he'd just been filing 1099, paying the self-employment tax, and there had never been a conversation about considering, setting up an LLC, but then also filing as an S-Corp. And when we ran the numbers, it looked like that would make sense. And so we coordinated with this tax team, and the tax team, they're just filing the taxes. They weren't doing any planning, weren't really having these kind of conversations. And so when we brought it up to them and talked about it, it did make sense. And so that's going to change this year. And that was great. Like, that's a big win for the client. He's going to be saving money on taxes. And it's just a more streamlined process now, where he's got the LLC set up. He's filing as S corp, paying himself a reasonable salary, and that's why it makes sense to have a team around you and kind of have somebody that's also playing quarterback to coordinate all of that.
Yeah, no, I love that. And the accountant in this story is not the villain. I mean, they did their job and they did it great. They got the client a huge tax refund. It's just, there's so much more than just taxes, right? The whole reason we want to save on taxes is so we have more money. And the reason we want money is what? The other half of the picture, goals or timeline. Like, our purpose. So
Yep.
like, bonus depreciation is not a bonus if it costs you more on the back end. So just remember that. Just because you hear it doesn't mean you're winning the lottery. You're making a timing decision. And, if you're not thinking ahead, that timing can be mistimed. So
Yep.
not, coordinated planning, that's where, that's where optimization happens, where not one advisor is working in a silo, but like you said, the whole team comes together, sits in the same room, and that way you're looking at all angles.
Yep, exactly. The silos, keeping people in their silos, is where things get difficult. Even just some quick communication can really help change client outcomes, and that's the goal, right? The accountant wants the best client outcome, we want the best client outcome, and the clients want the best client outcome. So it's in everyone's best interest to coordinate instead of just staying in their little bubbles.
Yeah, no doubt. Sweet. Well, that's a wrap. No flight will be without turbulence. So like and subscribe to see how we help clients see through that next waypoint.